Hi, everybody, and welcome to Week 6 of the Ray Esports Racing League's second season, presented by RaceVoice and Racer61. Last week, our drivers conquered one of the most complex road courses in North America, one that kept their hands constantly moving and made them work over multiple corners just to make a single pass. But tonight, we head to my virtual backyard to a track not designed for small little roadsters and formula cars, but one designed for 3,500-pound, 750-horsepower Cup car monsters that can run side by side, all while turning both left and, surprisingly, turning right as well. Opened in 1959, Charlotte Motor Speedway has always been known for its 1.5-mile oval and the incredibly close racing at Foster's. But CMS also has an infield road course, and it's been seemingly under wraps for years. And although it's been a hidden gem for many amateur road racing organizations, like the Sports Car Club of America or NASA, and they've raced it over the years, it wasn't until 2018 when the chicanes were added to both the front and the back stretches here at CMS, and the Roval gained notoriety with Cup drivers contesting the Bank of America 500. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth tonight is Chan Wee Han. And of course, we've got Apex Racing TV's Dennis Branch manning the controls and bringing you all the best camera angles. And tonight, we've got two great races on tap. We'll be starting off with our Mazda MX-5 drivers, and then we'll really change things up as our Pro Formula Mazda drivers will make their 20-minute sprint to the checkered flag around this 2.28-mile, 17-turn anathema. So, Wee Han, first off, thanks for joining us tonight here on the Ray Esports Racing League. Glad to have you here joining us and taking some time to fill in for Avery McDonald, pardon me. See, I forgot his name already.
Thanks so much for having me, and I think like yourself, I'm really excited for what the racing will be like here tonight. Of course, we do see an MX-5 kind of going around, but because that comes with that comes as part of the challenges racing here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Roval. I think it's really, really unique, this track, and I think the racing here would be great tonight.
Yeah, it should be a great night of racing here. You know, as wide as Charlotte Motor Speedway is, and we'll talk a little bit more about it and those chicanes that we just saw some of the cars go through on the back stretch here. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few moments here. But I think this track is going to suit our Mazda MX-5 drivers very, very well here and promote really wide open side-by-side racing in what is going to be a great field here. You know, we've had our Ray Esports drivers race at a number of other Formula One, or not Formula One tracks, but we'll call them NASCAR road race tracks, to Sonoma, to Watkins Glen, and of course, just this past weekend, I guess now added as a NASCAR track, it was Circuit of the Americas, as NASCAR raced in the rain there. You know, but the Roval here at CMS, very, very different than those true road courses. And these drivers are going to have, again, a wide amount of pavement here and going to be able to carry a lot of speed through a lot of these wide sweeping corners.
So that said, I think it is also worth noting that the race admins will indeed enforce the various track limits, such as the fact that the drivers cannot have more than 2 wheels outside of the white and blue lines, and that's of course to kind of promote better racing. And obviously that it would mean that, especially at this part of the track, the exit of the bus stop and various other corners, you cannot cut the track, which means that you might see lap times a little bit slower than that of the officials, but it does mean that drivers have to work even harder to get their lap times up.
That's absolutely right, Wee Han. And you can see there one driver that had a little bit of trouble getting that done, and that was Andre Jamison in the number 28 car as he put his car into the side of the wall here in qualifying. And we are just a little bit over halfway through our 15-minute open qualifying session. And of course, after the qualifying session, the drivers will have that 20-minute sprint race to the checkered flag. And while they're out there, and you can see our current leaders right now, Mitchell Peak in the number 56 machine with a fast lap of a 132.13. That is just about, I believe, 6/100ths of a second, or actually a little bit more than 6/100ths of a second, pardon me, about 3/10 of a second ahead of his teammate, Zach Burke. Then we've got Morgan Burkhardt, who was on the podium just last week in a couple of different races in the number 40 machine, the Apex Racing machine. And then Reed Shannabrook, who put on a real good showing last week at Mid-Ohio. Let's go very quickly here, and we'll run down give you an idea of where our drivers finished up at Mid-Ohio, and then we'll let you take a look at the point standings currently for our MX5 class. Of course, we have 3 different classes here in the Ray Esports League. We're giving the Spec Racer forwards the night off. They will join us next week when we go to Lime Rock Park. But taking the win last week at Mid-Ohio was Jack Tranter. He won his 3rd race in a row. He has swept the table so far, has wins in all 3 rounds for the Mazda MX-5s. Ryan Maloney in the number 15 Olsen Vesta machine finished in 2nd. And then Robert Kucera finished in 3rd. Then we had David Marcus and Jordy Fike rounding out the top 5. And so if we go and take a look at the points in Mazda MX-5, as we mentioned, Jack Tranter, by nature of sweeping the table, having 3 wins in 3 races, he is sitting far ahead of the rest of the field right now. 75 points in total right now. Jordy Fike currently sitting 2nd with 46. So as you can see, Wehan quite a bit further back. Then we've got Justin Hilly, who was at his home track last week at Mid-Ohio. He is currently sitting 3rd in the points with 35 points, just 2 ahead of Zach Burke, currently our 2nd fastest driver in qualifying. And then Charles Vaccaro with 25 points is currently sitting in 5th. And you can see the rest of the top 10 right there. We've got a tie for 9th right now between Ryan Maloney and Greg Brockway. And you can see Brian Hartz and Brennan Horn sandwiched between Wozencroft and that pair right there. So here we go. We've got just about 4 minutes left in qualifying. And, you know, it's interesting here, Wehan. I have raced, as I mentioned, this is pretty much right in my backyard. I moved down to Charlotte about a year and a half ago, and even before I did, I had raced here at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the road course a number of times, and basically the same track that these drivers and the same course that these drivers are running right now, minus the 2 chicanes, the chicanes both on the front straight and the back straight. And you know, I in a slower machine than these MX-5s, I typically raced Honda CRXs for a number of years. You know, without the chicanes, it seemed like, you know, a bit of a boring course because you just had a very long run coming out of NASCAR Turn 2 all the way back down to the front straight, because, you know, frankly, there's only about 50 feet of the oval that you don't race here. But I think adding the chicanes in really will add quite a bit of excitement, certainly for the MX-5 racers, and then when we see our Pro Formula Mazdas a little bit later as well.
Oh, that sounds great. I think, of course, with the chicanes in the way, it does mean that the drivers have to be on their feet even more, especially with the chicane right before the start-finish line, because you do notice that the drivers don't actually brake in a straight line. They brake as they turn in, which means that drivers have to brake a bit earlier. And, you know, I think it's things like these that really make this iteration of the Charlotte Motor Speedway even more exciting for drivers to enjoy, for everyone to enjoy, and also for the drivers to kind of test themselves. And also, as they come to this section, you can see that the drivers are taking, in fact, the kind of the tarmac runoff towards the left. Why they're doing so is because they're really optimizing their racing line to kind of get the best position to turn in. I'm not too sure if that's the same in real life.
It is.
Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, that's great.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when I raced there a number of years ago, they didn't have all of the paint there. It was just exposed asphalt. But that is certainly the case now, where drivers will go and use every last inch or centimeter of the pavement over there, and that is considered to be inbounds as you open up turns 3 and 4, which there's a short little run, short little straight between turns 3 and 4, but it really it races much like a double apex corner. That almost as quickly as you come out of turn 3, you're setting up for turn 4 as well. And since you have all of that extra runoff pavement to drivers left coming out of turn 4, you can really open up that corner quite a bit. And you can see here one of the big changes here is we see Morgan Burkhardt coming out of that last chicane that you mentioned, Wehan, turns 15, 16, and 17. Is that we've got what they call the sausage curbing here in the United States, the big ramped up plastic bollards in the curbing there. that the Cup cars seem to, you know, they get a little bit of a launch, but they seem to soak up those bumps just a little bit. You can see that they really have the ability to launch an MX-5 quite high in the air as the drivers try to use, again, every available inch that they have to them.
Yeah, it does seem like it might deal some damage to these cars if you cannot take them differently. I think, you know, those were probably designed with those NASCAR cars in mind, you know, those cars that can actually eat through the curbs without much issues. But you know, later on we'll see the Pro Masters coming out and race. We'll kind of see if they're able to take the curbs as aggressively as the NASCARs would.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if we see any curb hopping from our Pro Mazda drivers here, as the checkered flag is out on qualifying, and our drivers are now making their way on their last flying laps. Last laps will count here, and now crossing the start-finish line in a real big surprise here, Brandon Schnupp, who I believe this is his first race with us here in the eSports Racing League. He gets around Mitchell Peak, and at least for the moment, he is our provisional pole sitter with an advantage of 43 thousandths of a second. We've got Peak, then we've got Zach Burke in that number 13 machine. He is sitting 3/10 of a second back, and then Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine, currently sitting 4th, and then Reed Shannabrook is your 5th fastest driver, as we still have, I believe, Shannabrook and Pendergrass on track setting their last flying laps. And we go on board right now here with Reed Shannabrook in the number 14 machine as he goes through the last chicane here onto the front straight. Pardon me, that is the pardon me, that was the back at the back straight, turns 11 and 12, and he's now making his way through NASCAR 4 with just a couple corners left, and we'll see if he can move up in the order again. Currently sitting in 5th. And as he crosses the stripe, does he improve upon his 132.82? No, he does not. He sets a 133.80, so he is going to stay in 5th position. All right, so that should wrap things up. Actually, I guess we're watching right now Bryce Evans, and I believe Evans in the 311 machine is also on his last flying lap currently. Currently sitting 17th in the order. And now you'll notice here, Wei-Han, as we're talking about, and now Evans goes and aborts that lap, so his session is done. We'll talk a little bit more about that second chicane as the race starts, but we should have our drivers gridding up. And did you want to run down the starting order for us, Wei-Han?
Sure, let's do it. So Brandon Schnupp will begin from pole position with a fast lap time of 132.087, and he'll be alongside Mitchell Peak. Zach Burke and Morgan Burkhardt begin from 3rd and 4th. Reed Shannabrook and Thomas Pendergrass from 5th and 6th. Giancarlo Scula and Greg Mack from 7th and 8th. Jody Fike and Will Robbins from 9th and 10th. Charles Vaccaro and Andrew Wozencroft from 11th and 12th. Let's go further back. It will be Greg Brockway and Andre Jamison from 13th and 14th. Andrew Banach and Brian Hartz from 15th and 16th. Bryce Evans and as well as Remy L from 17th and 18th. Joe Camilleri and Joaquin Effinger from 19th and 20th. Wayne Butmore and Thor Tuller from 21st and 22nd. Thomas Tobin and John Casey from 23rd and 24th. We've also got the rest of the drivers: Brian Belansky, Antonio Garda, Jamison Huffman, Bob. I do apologize. That
was Kucera. Bob Kucera.
Yeah. All right, Bob Kucera and Gregory March will round out your starting grid of 29 MX-5s.
Yeah, and a big surprise for me as you just ran down that order, Wei-Han, is that Jamison Huffman starting back in 27th position, back towards the rear end of the field. I think he is definitely going to be a driver that we will want to watch and see if he starts to make his way through the field. We typically see him in the top 10. and we'll see if he comes on track. Actually, I'm looking right now, and I don't believe he made the grid. Now, one of the drivers who I believe is joining us tonight, and starting 23rd now, Brian Belansky, and Wehan, you'll like this. Brian is he is the staff announcer for Cal Club, the California Sports Car Club, part of the Sports Car Club of America, and he's the track announcer at Buttonwillow Raceway Park out in California, and longtime race announcer, longtime radio guy. Spent a number of years also doing some TV production, and used to know Brian when we both lived in the Washington D.C. area. Good to see him out with us racing tonight for the very first time. All right, so we've got our pole sitter sitting right, and that's Brandon Schnupp, right behind our pace car in the white number 31 machine. Mitchell Peak is currently sitting on the outside of the front row, and they are now making their way out of NASCAR turn 4. They're going to come down to that final chicane, 15, 16, and 17, and then on to the start of this 20-minute sprint to the checkered flag. You can see that the majority of field not very well formed up, Wehan. I think a lot of drivers not going to have a great advantage here on the start as we wait for, I believe, I think we're waiting for Giancarlo Schooler to make up a little ground there. And there we go. Pack is now starting to form up a little better as they come into the last chicane.
So you get a good view of the cars kind of bunching up together as they approach the chicane. Of course, you know, when you're behind a safety car, you have another set of challenges they have to face in order not to come together with the other cars in front of you.
Yes. All right, we've got the long pace lap here as they start to make their way through, and you know, eventually, Wehan, I'm going to get this right because I keep tracking cars coming out of, as I thought they were coming out of the final chicane, and turns out they're coming out of 11 and 12. So looks like we've got a couple more corners to go. All right, pace car is in. Drivers will come down to that final chicane now. Finally, turns 15, 16, and 17. And you can see here plenty of room, but this last chicane with that very tight right-hand turn onto the front straight definitely will slow these cars down. And we have a green flag, and Brandon Schnupp and Mitchell Peak side by side as they come down the bend going into turn 1 for the very first time. Oh, and getting together from between turn 1 and turn 2. Mitchell Peak gets into Brandon Schnupp, and Schnupp now falls back just a little bit. We can see Burkhardt coming up just behind as they go through turns 3 into 4. And who is that now? That is Zach Burke in the number 13 machine, all the way off driver's left, and it looks like his race may end very early here, Wehan.
That was an unfortunate incident, of course, though, starting here at Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. It is tricky for the drivers to get it right together. But of course, most of the other cars are making it through quite safely at this point as they rejoin the oval section, and this is where they can unleash whatever horsepowers these MX-5s have.
Well, yeah, what little horsepower. Actually, these MX-5s, they have about 170 horsepower, I believe. At the crank, not at the wheels, a little less at the wheels. But of course, the big thing here with these long runs on the oval is that the draft definitely comes into play here. As the number 80 machine, that is Andrew Wozencroft, has an issue, and looks like he's going to miss the first chicane. Overruns it, doesn't get the braking done in time, and he's going to hold off and let our drivers through. I'm sure he got a 1X, and he's going to have to hold off here for a while as we go back to the replay. And let's take a look, and you can see here where Zach Burke had that tire down from that very first turn incident that he had with our pole sitter Brandon Schnupp, who is sitting now back in 6th position. Let's take a look at it again as they come through turn 1 going into turn 2 as they got together. And you can see there is Burkhardt was trying to find his way around the outside, but very, very unfortunate for Zach Burke.
Yeah, that was unfortunate indeed. I think he was trying to probably avoid the incidents up front, and he found himself in the wall. But we're now back with live pictures, and this is Peak on the race league, and and he does have Burkhardt hot on his tail as they rejoin the Tribal. So I think he went a bit rear and loose there as he rejoined the racetrack, but he is now leading Burkhardt as he go top speed around the oval section once again.
All right, and of course we saw Morgan Burkhardt was actually our winner last week in the Pro Mazdas and does quite well in MX-5 as well. So we'll definitely want to keep a look at that 15-year-old as the race goes on. Now, if we drop back a little bit further, we look at, here's Remy L'Esperance, who is currently running in 12th. He's made up 6 positions on the start there in that blue and purple number 6 car, right behind Andrew Benna, and actually now right beside Andrew Benna as they now make their way out of the final corner. And here a little bit harder to come through that chicane side by side compared to the one on the back straight, turns 11 and 12. And interestingly enough, Wei-Han, that the chicane on the back straight, after the very first year that NASCAR ran here on the Roval back in 2018, they actually widened the chicane. It used to be, I believe, only 34 feet wide. They expanded it out quite a bit, made it out to 54 feet, so added almost 20 feet in width, and also opened it up quite a bit to make it easier for drivers to go through there side by side. They do have to do a little bit more braking at the entrance, but it was definitely to promote better racing for the big cup cars, and I think it does the same here for the MX-5. As a matter of fact, in talking to one of our drivers here tonight, Tom Pendergrass, he mentioned that the earlier version of that chicane, if you jumped over those sausage curbs, those big blue curbs, they could actually break the front suspension of the MX-5s.
So as you do see that happening right now, this has been now being overtaken by what would probably be Shannonbrook.
Yeah, that was Reed Shannonbrook in the white number 14 machine getting around Andrew Benna through the chicane there. So I guess it does exactly what they had designed it to do, to promote a little bit better racing there. As we're now looking back from Benna's car back to Remy Esperance. That white and purple number 6 as they go and they complete lap number 4 right now. Back up at the front of the field, and we had as I started talking about chicanes and what have you, there we go. We've got our leaders now coming out of turn 4, heading down towards turn 5, and Mitchell Peak starting to open up a pretty big advantage now over Morgan Burkhardt, almost 2 seconds here, but the battle right now is for third, where we got Tom Pendergrass, who I spoke about just a little bit earlier, in his Bitcoin liveried car, and that is a new livery for him. Hopefully, I don't know how much Bitcoin mining he's going to be doing. I believe he's actually, I think he might actually be racing tonight from a hotel conference room. Actually, no, that is that isn't him. That is oh gosh, I'll get the name, but it's not Pendergrass doing that. So. But Pendergrass now in the Bitcoin, and right behind him, we've got the number 1 machine of John Carlos Schooler, teammate of both Jamison Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt. And then we've got our pole sitter from the evening, Brandon Schnupp, currently sitting back in 5th. He got around Greg Mack last lap and trying to make his way back up through the field after that unfortunate lap 1, turn 1 incident.
So we're now on board, or we were on board with Schnupp as we observed him going across the start-finish line, and he's now currently sitting in 5th. So he's got 2 drivers in front of him that he's probably trying to think of making overtaking moves work. But of course, we've yet to cross the halfway point of this race as we head towards another battle that's taking place just behind that. This is the battle pack being led by Robbins, and there is a Fike as well as Mac behind them. So let's see if Fike is going to think of an overtaking move on Robbins and see if this will work as they go along the infield section now. I think, from past experience, my experience with the infield was that it's very tight, and I think sometimes it's quite difficult to kind of see where the apexes are coming, especially with the elevation changes.
Yeah, exactly. And and again, I'm going back, and it's now been about 7 years since I raced the infield. here at Charlotte, and that was always an issue, that you ended up having blind entries to a lot of the corners. And you know, I always wondered whether or not there was actually any planning on how they laid that pavement down, because the track went from on camber to off camber at some of the weirdest spots, and never very good for grip. That was definitely the case as we go on board right now. That is the number 71 machine of Andrew Benna, who is up 5 positions, currently running in 10th.
So of course he is 2 seconds ahead of the other cars, but we're back with Robbins, and this does seem to have become a four-way battle
now, yeah, because they've brought on Reed Shannabrook now, who is sitting back in 9th position at the tail end of that group of cars. Had started off 5th today, so he fell back in those first couple laps as well, trying to make up some positions.
Speaking of positions, that seems like Fike making the move for P6 ahead of Robbins, but Robbins of course has a slightly better line along the exit. So let's see if he's going to be able to retake that position by overtaking along the outside. He tries to do it. It is going to be neck and neck between Fike and Robbins, but I think it's going to be Fike who will pull ahead of Robbins as they round out this infield section.
Yeah, and you'll notice there as they came up the hill out of turn 6, where, you know, of course the track rises up and it seemingly dips down right around the apex of that corner and then rises back up again. And we had Jordy Fike sitting there pinned all the way to the inside driver, so he was able to keep the car tight and tidy there, and made the pass work as we drop back over to the battle for the lead. And the last time we looked here, Mitchell Peak had about almost a 2-second advantage on Morgan Burkhardt, and Burkhardt now has clawed his way back. That last time by was about 0.4 of a second faster than our pole sitter Mitchell Peak, and Morgan Burkhardt, all 15 years old of him, is now right on the tail of our leader as they come out of past the start-finish line, going down into turn number 1 along that hard cement wall there that really closes things in, and then makes their way down towards turns 3 and 4.
They might want to reach their hand out to the side mirrors and kind of adjust it to put it back in place.
Yes. Well, we know Brandon Schnupp doesn't have one any longer on the right-hand side of the car, but as we watch that battle for 3rd right now, still going on with Pendergrass, Schooler, and Schnupp. As you mentioned, Schnupp had gotten around Jordy Fike last lap, as they now come through and out of the infield. Now, you were talking about the track limits, and that is one place coming out of the infield where it's very important. You saw that yellow line right at the lip of the oval coming out of the infield, and that is one place where the drivers can only drop 2 wheels underneath that yellow line until they get to the grassy area. If they do any more than that, they will get a penalty. And again, here the drivers can, if necessary, drop their inside wheels underneath that blue line, but unless they're getting forced down there by a car side by side, not really much of a reason to do that, because that apron underneath the blue line flattens out, and it definitely makes the handling characteristics change considerably for a car doing 140 miles an hour around some of these banked corners.
So just that is Schnupp getting his mirrors whacked out, as he was kind of battling hard with Schooler. But this battle still ensues, of course, with a Bitcoin car driven by Pendergrass leading this 3-way pack. I think the battle is shaping up to be quite a good one. Any moment now, I think Schnupp could think of yet another overtaking move on Schooler as they go around these parts of the track. So you can just see how close these walls are to you, and I think it's probably even closer than when Charlotte Motor Speedway used to have yellow walls, I think, back in the day.
Yeah, very, very much so. A matter of fact, some of our drivers during testing and practice this week, as you notice, as the drivers come out of turn 7 into turn 8, the last 2 corners before you come onto the oval, there is that cement wall, the dividing wall that sits between that small piece of the course. And here we go, coming down towards coming out of NASCAR 2 going into 3 side by side. We've got Shannabrook and Robbins. And Robbins makes the pass stick going through the chicane there. And I think the lap before we saw Shannabrook get around Robbins. But there is a cement divider that runs, that separates turns 1 and 2 from turns 7 and 8. And some of the drivers in testing this week have referred to that as the wall of death. And they're waiting to see who hits that wall first here as we see our drivers coming through turn 1. We're on board right now with Brandon Schnupp, our pole sitter. When you come through 1, you're nowhere near that wall, but as you come through turn 7 and start to get set up to go back onto the oval, you are very close to that cement wall, drivers right. It kind of reminds me of how close you are to the Blue Armco at Watkins Glen.
So let's see how these drivers will fare as they're going to approach 7 and 8. So this is a downhill and then an uphill. So of course the wall, you don't really see it coming. You go as close as you can to it.
it shows up. It seemingly comes to you from out of nowhere. All right, and so here is a big change, and we didn't see it on track, but Morgan Burkhardt has gotten around Mitchell Peak. Advantage now almost 2.5 seconds, so maybe hopefully we'll be able to go back and see a replay. I would suspect that something must have happened there. Let's take a look. I think Dennis Branch might fulfill my wish, and there it is. Here comes the replay with Mitchell Peak leading Morgan Burkhardt through turn 7, and there you go. It's the wall of death, Weihan, and our leader, our now former leader, hits the wall and drops back through the order. So again, our new leader, Morgan Burkhardt. Tom Pendergrass now moves up into second here as now looks like Mitchell Peak now in the 56 machine has taken his car to the pits. We do give the drivers one fast repair, but he is now sitting all the way down in 24th position. So you know, funny how we talk about those things, and I guess that would be the announcer's curse, wouldn't it be?
Oh no! Oh no!
All right, Schnupp. And Schnupp still looking for a way to get around Giancarlo Schooler. Hasn't found a way to get it done yet as we go now and drop a little bit further down the order. The battle for 16th right now, where we've got Thomas Tobin and John Casey as they come on to the front straight, complete lap number 10. We have just about 5 minutes remaining in this 20-minute sprint race here for the MX-5 battle. And wanted to remind everybody that this race is brought to you by Driver61. You can find out more about them at driver61.com. They've got great coaching services, track overviews, basically everything you need to do to get up and running to learn new racetracks, and great service. And we want to thank them for sponsoring our global MX-5 races here on the eSports League for the 2nd season in a row. All right, and here we go again. This battle for third with well, actually, this is the battle now for second with Pendergrass, with Schooler, with Schnupp, and now sneaking under Pendergrass is Giancarlo Schooler. Can he make it stick from the outside going through turn 2? Now again, this track, it's going to switch back over, and you're going to have that double apex right-hander, and no, Pendergrass is able to hold off Schooler, at least for the moment. And, you know, this is the battle for second, and in that battle now as well, sitting back in 5th position is Shannabrook. Just kind of, pardon me, is that Shannabrook back there? Yeah, I believe Shannabrook just, he's a little bit further back right now, sitting in 5th, but great battle going on there. I guess I was looking at that last car in the line with Pendergrass and Schooler and Schnupp, and I think that was just lapped traffic that they were trying to get around.
So we're now having a look at Burke as he battles, or rather he leads Tobin, and this is the battle for 16th position. So, you know, an unfortunate sequence of events that he has found himself at this part of the grid. But I think he's definitely trying to make the best out of his situation, and he's holding his ground relatively well at this point. So we have only a couple of minutes left to the checkered flag, and we are seeing some more moves that might take place. So this is Schooler. He is now in third. He's got Schnupp behind him, and he's got Pendergrass in front of him.
And we'll see if Giancarlo Schooler sets himself up for another position. You can see where Pendergrass getting very defensive going down into turn one, sticks the car middle of track, and definitely impacts his cornering into turn numbers 1 and 2. And I think he's a little wary way on, given Schooler's last attempt at a pass for position here last lap.
Yeah, the crypto-powered MX-5 doing really well as we have a look at a replay, and this is of Remy Lesperance. He is, I imagine he's battling with, there's a bit of contact to the left rear.
Yeah, and that was Andrew Benna in the number 71 machine. Those two drivers get together going into turn number 1 last time by, and they're still right with one another. On track, currently running 9th and 10th. Esperance has made up 9 positions to find himself in 9th position. I don't believe either of those drivers lost any ground on track. That they had a decent-sized advantage. I think almost an 8-second advantage over Bryce Evans in the 311 car when that incident happened. All right, so let's jump back now, and this is the battle for third, because it looks as though Giancarlo Schooler and Brandon Schnupp have lost the draft of Tom Pendergrass. Pendergrass now opening up a little bit of an advantage there as they come through the final chicane onto the front straight and across the start-finish line. And our drivers now getting the white flag. So Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine, he is currently your leader, a little bit further up track. But the battle right now definitely for the 2nd and 3rd spots on the podium.
Battle going well here nonetheless. Of course, Pendergrass has gotten an additional advantage, but this is a battle right now for third. It is Schooler and Schnupp side by side, but of course Schooler has the position advantage, having the inside of that line. Is he going to be able to carry this through as he makes his way around the wall of death? I think he does so quite well as he goes for the exit and back onto the oval section. And he will continue to lead Schooler through, or rather, he will continue to lead Schnupp through this section.
All right, and our leader, Burkhardt, just now coming through the 2nd chicane as this battle for third comes out of NASCAR turn 2, making the run down to that chicane themselves. And let's see, this would be a place where Schnupp might try to sneak underneath Schooler, but Schooler's able to hold him off, at least for the moment. And right now, Jordan Schnupp, he is running out of time if he wants to make up and position and get onto the podium. As our leader, Morgan Burkhardt, comes through the chicane for the very last time. He's going to cross the stripe, and Morgan Burkhardt takes the win in Mazda MX-5. Should be noted, this is the first win for somebody other than Jack Tranter. Tranter not here this evening. Finishing 2nd, Tom Pendergrass. And look at that, before they get to the finish line, Schnupp ends up impacting another car, ends up getting into, and we'll have to check and see which driver that was that he got into there. But Schnupp now ends up finishing much further back, finishing in 4th position will be Reed Shannabrook. Jordy Fike will finish in 5th. Brandon Schnupp will finish in 6th. So certainly not the race that Brandon Schnupp was looking for when he started this race from pole. And it looks like Tom Pendergrass is on his cool down lap, his not quite victory lap, Wei-Han.
Yeah, I think given that's probably the next session, I think the drivers are probably eager to progress on, or perhaps watch the race that comes on after this. So I think we do have a couple of drivers in our interview room. But of course, we would go through the positions
certainly
first.
do. Let's start off with Giancarlo Schooler, finishing 3rd tonight in Mazda MX-5. Wei-Han, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure thing. Let's go. Hi, Giancarlo. Welcome to the commentary booth. So, a fantastic performance by yourself. Congratulations on coming home 3rd in the MX5 round. So, coming to this racetrack, I think it is quite challenging, especially the way this track is. So could you please share with us the race from your perspective, given that you've probably had a lot of exciting battles that have taken place?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited from the start. I didn't really expect to be up there with the top guys, to be honest, after qualifying. But no, it was good fun. It's a really hard track to pass on, so qualifying was really important. I think I gained all my spots that I gained just off people making mistakes.
Yeah, considering we came from the Monaco Grand Prix last weekend in Formula One, I think you probably have something similar here in iRacing. But yeah, I think I think could you please perhaps also share with us some of the other battles that might have taken place throughout the race? Given that I think those, especially given the fact that this track has some track limits that of course is a bit different from how they are enforced in the officials.
Yeah, it was hard to get a good run out of, anywhere, to be honest, because you couldn't really cut going onto the oval, so we had to go a bit wider than normal. That made it even harder to make a move on anybody. I know Morgan was having a great fight at the front. It was fun to see him battling. Uh, Along with that, me, Thomas were having a great battle. Brandon was there too, and it was really good fun racing. Really clean as well.
Oh, that's great to hear. So before we do let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
No, just thank you for Morgan for inviting me here, and congratulations on the win.
All right, thanks so
All right.
much, Giancarlo.
Yeah, there you go. That was Giancarlo Schooler finishing third tonight in MX5. Next up, we're going to bring in Tom Pendergrass, finishes in second position. Tom, welcome to the commentary booth. Exciting start, exciting finish. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your race?
Yeah, I still am trying to figure out how I ended up in second. There's no way I had the pace to be that far up, but I think that's my first podium in a big broadcasted race. Definitely the best I finished against a competitive field like this, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it was a great run there, and you did a wonderful job holding off Giancarlo Schooler with about I guess it was 3 laps to go. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that exchange coming down out of the last chicane and through turns 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, I don't think I took enough curb in the last chicane. I'll have to look at the replay, but just got a terrible run onto the pit straight, onto the start finish straight. He sent it down the inside, and I thought, man, like I gotta, if I'm gonna lose the podium, if I just get forced on the outside here, like whoever was behind him, I forget who was behind him then, but he's gonna come right by, and I'm just gonna end up in fourth. So I was like, I just pinned it, went down the inside, but then the next 2 corners were on the outside, so I made it stick around the outside and somehow managed to come out back ahead in front.
Well, there you go. Tom Pendergrass finishes second tonight in Mazda MX-5, as you mentioned, his first big-time podium. Congratulations, Tom. Anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
I just thank my sponsor, Bitcoin. They said they'd pay me 3 Bitcoins for a win, 2 coins for a second, and 3 coin and 1 coin for a third. So hopefully they come through on that.
That's a bigger haul than I get in club racing. Amazing. All right, Tom Pendergrass, thanks for joining us so much. Are we going to see you a little bit later in the Pro Mazdas?
I can't drive those cars to save my life. So I'll be watching the broadcast though.
There we go. All right, Tom Pendergrass, thanks so much for joining us. All right, next up, we're going to bring in Morgan Burkhardt, tonight's winner in Mazda MX-5. Congratulations, young Morgan. Tell you, when the green flag dropped and you saw that little battle between drivers on the front row, what exactly were you thinking?
I was just thinking, oh crap. Just trying to get through it and keep the nose clean, and yeah, pretty much just try and live through turn 1.
Yeah, it looked like you got pushed a little bit wide out there, out to the outside, right up near the wall, and managed to sneak your way through. And great battle that you had there with the Canadian. And I guess you guys were coming out of turn 7, and that concrete wall kind of put itself right into the middle of your race. What did you think when you guys were there right up against the wall, and obviously your competitor took to the concrete?
Well, I mean, from the outset, this race was always going to be a try and survive and make it through the end, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the fastest person who wins the race. It's going to be the cleanest person, especially at a track like this when the walls are so close. And, when he tagged the wall, I was just, trying to give him as much space as I possibly could. And, I really feel bad for him. He was running a really good race. And then after that, I think he had an incident with a back marker, but, I don't watch the replay, so I don't want to point fingers. I don't really know what happened, but, tough break for him.
Yeah, definitely a tough race for Peak, and but I guess at one point, and I guess this was probably around six or seven laps in, you were almost 2 full seconds down from him. What did you do to get back into the battle there for the lead? Was that due to that incident, or was there something else there?
Well, he pulled away because I was trying to work with him, and I backed off a little bit going into the chicane just so I don't punt him. And then coming out, I tried to shift up a little bit too early, and I missed the shift, and I dropped back pretty far. And just head down and try and catch back up to him. And, fortunately for me, he made a small mistake coming out of the chicane the next lap, and I was able to reel him right back in.
Oh, very, very cool. So, Morgan, we know that you probably want to get set up for the Pro Mazdas, try to repeat your win from last week at Mid-Ohio. Anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
Well, as always, I'd like to thank my parents and my grandparents. They really do contribute a lot to making all of this possible. And a shout out to JC. He ran a really great race for not having a lot of practice and hopped in and qualified 6th or 7th, something like that. So, he did a really good job tonight.
All right, very cool. So, Morgan, we'll let you go. Congratulations on your win tonight in Mazda MX-5. Everybody, that is Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 All Sports Racing Mazda MX-5, and we'll see you in just a few moments.
Thank you.
All right, so Wei-Han, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break as we get set up for that next race for our Pro Formula Mazdas presented by RaceVoice. And so if you all will definitely stick with us, and just a reminder before we go to break, if you like what you see, make sure to give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell. You're going to love all the great programming that we have pretty much around the clock on Apex Racing TV. Lots of different types of racing from all over the world, broadcasters from all over the world. All I can say is I highly suggest it. Tell you what, let's take a quick break. We're going to get set up for our second race, and we'll be back in just a few moments. You are watching the eSports Racing League, and we'll be right back.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Pekin Freeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
And we're back here from Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Ray Esports Racing League. This is round number 6, or it's actually week 6 for all of our drivers here. It's the 4th round, and currently on track we do have in qualifying our Pro Mazdas. But before we get to them, let's talk a little bit about the one class that is not with us here this week. That is Spec Racer Ford. They did race last week at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and taking the win was Stevie Ray, the Ray and Ray Esports Racing. Great win for him. Finishing second was Greg Mack, and Morgan Burkhardt, who we just spoke to a moment ago, finished in third. Last step of the podium in Spec Racer Ford with Jeff Miner and Andrew Benna, finishing 4th and 5th respectively. And if we go and we take a look at the point standings right now in Spec Racer Ford, after 4 races, Stevie Ray is currently your points leader with 87 points. He's got a 13-point advantage over Zach Burke, and a couple more points back to Morgan Burkhardt, who is sitting in third right now. We then have Greg Mack and Jamison Huffman running 4th and 5th in the points respectively, with Taylor Wozencroft only separated by 2 points in the battle for 6th. Bryce Evans and Justin Huffman, that is Jamison's father, are currently tied for 8th with 41 points, and then sitting in 10th right now with 35 is Charles Vaccaro. And so let's go now and we'll take a look at our Pro Mazdas as they're on track. Now, the last time we saw them was 2 weeks ago at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and taking the win at Michelin Raceway was Morgan Burkhardt, and finishing second to him was Jack Tranter, with Justin Huffman finishing on the last step of the podium, with John Vogel and Kyle Vallejos finishing just off the podium 4th and 5th respectively. And if we take a look at where they stand in the points in Pro Mazda. Now, this is after 3 rounds completed. Tyler Campbell, who took the first 2 wins of the season, he is still your leader with 71 points, and Tyler currently is, I believe, 4th in qualifying right now. And we'll get that timing pylon up on the screen for you here in just a few moments. Morgan Burkhardt, with that win 2 weeks ago, he is currently sitting 2nd in the points, and he's only 3 points back from Campbell. Charles Vaccaro sitting in 3rd right now with 42. Justin Huffman is sitting 4th with Stevie Ray 5th. And we've got Wayne Buttermore and John Vogel only separated by 2 points. And actually, this is a very tight battle, Wayhan. Stevie Ray, who is currently 5th in the points, he has 39 points. Wayne Buttermore only 1 point back at 38, then 2 points back to John Vogel with 36th. And then tied, we've got Kyle Vallejos and Andrew Wozencroft at 35 points and John Casey with 34. So things are very, very tight here in the battle in eSports racing in Pro Mazda. All right, and so now that we've done that, look at that going into the wall of death. It's Thor Tulo in the number 14 machine, but he does it as the checkered flag comes out because our 15 minutes of open qualifying is now complete. And we've got the 2 teammates, Morgan Burkhardt and Jamison Huffman, currently sitting at the top of the order. But let's take a look, because I think Tyler Campbell, well, it looks like Campbell here is calling off his last session, so he is going to sit in 3rd with Robert Kucera 4th. John Vogel in the number 4 machine, he is still out on a flyer, trying to improve upon his 1:15.71. And nope, actually he just blinked out, and so his session is now done. Trying to see if we have anybody still remaining on track here for qualifying, and I believe possibly Joaquin Effinger, who just now crosses the stripe in that purple number 700 machine. He turns in a 1:21.58. That does not improve upon his previous best of 1:19.71, so he will start 13th. And I believe that should do it for all of our drivers in qualifying, Wayhan. It goes awfully quickly. And a bit of a surprise is Morgan Burkhardt sat around with us for interviews, and he's still, with just a few minutes behind the wheel of that Pro Mazda, managed to eke out a pole for this evening's race.
Yeah, I guess when you're fast, you're actually very fast.
There you go. But if you go and you take a look at the timing board, the top 3 drivers are only separated out by a couple hundredths of a second. So really, really tight here in qualifying. And it'll be interesting to see how things differ in the Pro Mazdas versus the MX-5s. As we go, we'll run down the starting grid here on the pole. From Charlestown, West Virginia, it is Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine with a pole setting time of 1:14.736. 0.05 of a second back from him. His teammate will start on the outside of the front row. That's Jamison Huffman. Then we have Tyler Campbell in the Draught Racing machine, the number 37 Formula Mazda, starting in 3rd, with Bob Kucera, actually Robert Kucera, starting in 4th. On your 3rd row, we've got John Vogel and Kyle Vallejos. Then we've got Giancarlo Schooler, who had that great run in Mazda MX-5, starting on the inside of the 4th row, with Thor Tulo starting in 8th. Andrew Rosencroft and Andrew Benna will make up row number 5. Then we've got Charles Vaccaro and Andrew Guarda running in 11th and 12th. Then we've got Joaquin Effinger in the number 700 car, with Wayne Buttermore starting 13th and 14th. And then we've got, rounding out the field, John Casey and Brian McRae. And we'll have to see if McRae makes the field, because I don't believe he's set a qualifying time. As our drivers now are getting ready, you can see them there on the false grid. Which is actually part of the, rather than having them come down the pit lane, they're actually staged up in the chicane. And they will be starting their pace lap here momentarily, waiting for some of the final cars to come onto the grid. And now the pace car rolls off with the front row.
So a bit of a change from the MX-5s we saw earlier. I think obviously with the curbs here at Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, it's going to be quite a challenge for these open wheel Pro Masters.
Yeah, it certainly should be that a lot of the corners where these where the MX-5 drivers would open up these turns to try and maximize the arcs through the corners. These drivers are not going to be able to do that. You see those very tall blue curbs, for example, right at the apex of 2, right at the apex of 3. The Formula cars, they're not going to be able to use that. And of course, whereas the track is still fairly wide in those corners as they go into the chicanes, and you know, in I think in particular, Weihan, the final chicane coming onto the very short run down to turn 1, turns 15, 16, and 17, where you have that almost 90-degree left, or probably 90-degree right-hand turn, the 90-degree left-hand turn. And with the tall curbing at each end of it, I think it's going to be very difficult for those Formula cars to navigate in anything other than in a straight line, not in a straight line, but to not have side-by-side racing through there as we did with some of the Mazdas.
Certainly something worth noting, but of course what probably these drivers can do to their advantage is that with these banked corners, you can pretty much kind of make use of the downforce on these cars to kind of achieve top speed as you go around the track. So of course, we will kind of see these curbs come, especially the one that's coming up here along the chicane, and you can probably observe how these cars will try to avoid those the sausage curbs and only use the red and white rumble strips.
All right, and there you go. Watch as our front row comes back onto the front straight for the start. Sitting there on the inside of row number 2, Tyler Campbell, who has 2 wins here in the series. Again, our pole sitter Morgan Burkhardt with the 3rd. And as they now come out and through turn, I guess they're coming out of turn 13. They came through the chicane on the back straight. And they'll be coming here onto the front straight for the final chicane in just a moment. Probably the tighter, more difficult chicane. And here we go. Morgan Burkhardt starting to pick up a little bit of speed. And look at this. And, you know, we'll have to see here, Weihan. Oh, and look at this. Burkhardt and Campbell get together at the start. It looked as though our outside pole sitter, Jamison Huffman, maybe jumped the start just a little bit coming through the chicane, and Burkhardt, as he tried to recover, gets into Tyler Campbell. Both of those drivers drop back through the field now. So running in second is Robert Kucera in the 177 car. Campbell did not appear to lose that much ground. He is currently sitting in 3rd, but we don't know how much damage was done to that machine. With Kyle Vallejos in the number 35, he makes up 2 positions. He's starting in 4th. Let's go back to the replay of the start as our drivers come out of the final chicane, and you can see Huffman got a little wiggle, Burkhardt got a little wiggle, Campbell tried to come underneath, and both Burkhardt and Campbell get together. Campbell continues, Burkhardt does not. Morgan Burkhardt, our pole sitter, currently sitting in 14th position.
That was an unfortunate incident indeed, and that does kind of lead to Morgan Burkhardt going all the way to the tail end of the grid. But of course, it does mean that the new race leader is Jamison Huffman, and he is going to also have some great battles of his own up front.
All right, so now as we jump back, and there is Morgan Burkhardt, and we can see as he's trying to make his way around, he's got a lot of damage to that car. And hopefully we'll get some of the graphics cleaned up here in just a moment so you can get a good look at that. But the rear wing of that car has quite a bit of an issue there, and I would suspect that he's probably going to bring that car into the pits. Again, he should be getting a fast repair. But right now in the lead is Jamison Huffman over Bob Kucera, probably Robert Kucera. Interval now at just about 1 full second, with Tyler Campbell only a couple tenths back from there, sitting in 3rd with Vallejos, Vogel. Giancarlo Schooler makes up a position. He is currently running in 6th.
So we are observing some battles taking place in the mid-pack, and obviously there is what would appear to be a 4-way battle pack between Bernard as well as some of the cars around there. So this is perhaps around positions 6, 7, 8, and pretty much in that region. So a bit of mistake by what would appear to be the 71 machine of Bernard, and that does kind of set him back a little bit.
Yeah, so Andrew Benna, he drops and loses a position now to Giancarlo. Well, actually, he didn't lose a position to Giancarlo Scolar, but he lost a little bit of ground. Let's go. We'll take a look here. Let's see if we've got I think we've got a replay of this coming up. Still commentator. All right, so as we go and we try to continue on here, Tyler Campbell now gets around Vallejos, Giancarlo Scolar, John Vogel, moved Tyler Campbell now up into second position here, and we'll take a look. And then I believe the 177 of Kucera had some issues. He now drops back into 8th position as we're going to try and we've got some technical issues we're going to try and work through and get this cleared up for you here in just a moment. We definitely apologize for that, but we can tell you that still your lead car is Jamison Huffman.
Yep, certainly, and I think Jamison has kind of gotten a great advantage ahead of second place car Tyler Campbell. So he has an advantage of approximately 4 seconds, and I think he is in quite a safe position to continue pushing his car. But from second onwards, all the way down to 5th, there is a sizable battle pack that is taking place. So it would appear we might have live pictures back again, and we are now with Tyler Campbell.
Yeah, I think we do here as we're on board right now with Tyler Campbell. Now, Campbell that last time by running very similar pace to our leader, Jamison Huffman, only about 0.02 of a second difference at the line. But unfortunately for him, the gap is about 3.5 seconds. And he does have another car right on his tail. That is the number 35 machine of Vallejos. Just a couple car lengths back, Wayhan, as they start to make their way here through the chicane onto the front straight, and almost as quickly as they come onto the front straight, they go and make that bend into turn number 1. But so far, Jamison Huffman, after having that little bit of wiggle on the start, definitely some good luck there, and you can see him as he just came onto the oval there. He has opened up a real good advantage over our leader, over our second and third place drivers, Campbell and Vallejos. Andrew Benna, who we were watching just a little while ago, he is currently sitting back in 4th position. There's Andrew in that green number 71 machine. You can see he had a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 7, going into turn 8. Now, as we're on lap 5, Leon, I would suspect that these drivers probably have a good amount of heat in the tires at this point. But we've mentioned that this infield course, and they're going around is Robert Kucera in the number 7 in the 177 machine. So he's had his share of misfortune so far. He was up as high as 2nd after that start, and he now drops back to 7th position. But I was going to say, going through the infield here, the course, because of the way it changes elevation, sometimes mid-corner, changes from positive camber to negative camber, sometimes mid-corner. It really makes it very difficult to set up a car for this track.
Absolutely, as we can see riding on board Huffman, you can just see that, especially with this, the one where corners 7 and 8, you do see that the corner goes from being kind of a positive camber to suddenly going to flat, and that does kind of lead to a car sometimes being sent out to the outside wall. But he returns to the oval section and he goes top speed, and you can see that he starts braking at the number one board. Of course, that is quite a close distance, and it goes very close to the exit wall and makes good use of the exit. Of course, drivers cannot cut the exit of that chicane, of course, based on league rules. And he does continue on his way throughout turn 4 of the NASCAR turn 4 and down into the chicane. So you can see that he avoids the blue tall curbs and only using a rumble, and he does complete a lap here.
Yeah, but you know, it's amazing in watching through that second chicane how even without being able to use those blue curbs, how he's still able to open it up, and it really, and I think having the aero grip of these cars helps quite a bit. Obviously, something that the MX-5s don't. That he really was able to straighten it out. It did not take a lot of input from the steering wheel in order to get through that chicane, and of course, you know, very late braking that you can do with these cars, you know, compared to the tin top. It's pretty amazing.
So Vallejo's making good use of the exit. Of course, that is one part where you can actually cut the blue lines, but you cannot cut the yellow line. So good use of the exit there to optimize his exit pace. And likewise, he goes around the backstretch. And of course, his job now is to try to close that 1.1 second gap that exists between himself and Tyler Campbell if he wants to go for a run for second place.
And now, it's pretty amazing that Campbell is getting doing this well here, and he's again running very similar times to our current leader Huffman. Don't know if you noticed, Wehan, but he has a good amount of damage to that front wing. The right front of Tyler Campbell's car still somewhat bent up. There you go. You can see the end plate bent up there from his contact with Morgan Burkhardt, and he still manages to make that car work and work fairly well. But just as I say that, there is the announcer's curse, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, as Tyler Campbell puts the car around coming out of turn 4. Let's take a quick replay here. He locked it down, and whoa, just missing the rear of that car was I guess that was Thortulo in the number 14 who was running right behind him.
Yeah, that was a very close call. In fact, I think for a second there on my end, it did appear that Campbell might have gotten a bit of the rear end damage, but I think the positions haven't exactly changed that much, as we're now with Antonio Garda. He is our driver from Canada, and he is also having a good time racing here. So he is going to go for a run to try to go for 5th place, which is being held by Vaccaro up top there, rather in front. And the gap that exists between them is around 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, so it was 0.7, but you can see the effect of the draft here, Weihan. Typically, you wouldn't think of these Formula Mazdas or the Pro Mazdas, pardon me, as being that open to the draft, but Guarda was able to make up almost 0.3 of a second on the back end of the oval coming out of NASCAR Turn 2, going into the back straight chicane turns 11 and 12, and you can see now he's made up a lot of ground. He's, well, now as they come through turns 1 and 2, I think we know where Guarda's weakness is, and it's under braking going into turn 1 as he loses more ground once again to Charles Vaccaro.
So yeah, we do have some news from Andrew, but I think he pushed a little too hard through turn 4, and that kind of resulted in him ruining his race pace a fair bit. He's currently sitting in 10th, but still fighting hard for his positions. And we're now with Thortulo. He is in 3rd position, and he's coming under a bit of heat with Skula and Vaccaro in 4th and 5th. So of course we have about 4 to 5 minutes of racing left, and this is possibly going to be a tight battle for the final podium position. Right now we are looking at Giancarlo Skula. He is in the middle of this pack, and I think he's trying to also resist pressure that's coming from Charles Vaccaro.
Yeah, and you can see where Skula has some damage to his front wing as well, and I would suspect Weihan, if he gets too close underneath the rear of Thortulo's machine, that might cause a little bit of a front end push with that car. But so far, he seems, at least in the right hand turns, which are the majority of the corners in the infield. Most everything in the infield is a right-hander. The exit, of course, is a left-hander, and then, of course, the oval itself, one big left-hander. But the right-handers, the car seems to handle fairly well. It does not look as happy coming out onto the oval there, however.
Yeah, you can just see Vaccaro making good use of the apron, slight bit of the apron, only putting 2 wheels across the white and blue line, so that's perfectly fine. Of course, Thor Tulo still leads this 3-way pack as he gets a bit of a wide and then a narrow exit out of that chicane. We're now having a... Oh yeah, we're back again.
So
this
it's almost like we never left. Here we go.
So yeah, this is Scooter now trying to close the gap and perhaps think of an overtaking move. Probably across the next few moments, and we'll see if he's able to kind of think of any moves that he might plot. So he's now going to turn 1 with Tulo, but of course Tulo still has that position advantage. Oh, someone's kind of stopped there, the middle of the track, but
yeah,
of course that's out of the way.
Yeah, I think that might have been McRae who was possibly pulling over. Actually, McRae's not out on track probably. I think that might have been Kucera pulling over to let those drivers by. Here, you know, of course, remember in the last race, Giancarlo Schooler went to make that move on Pendergrass coming through turns 1 through 4, and just wasn't quite close enough to make it work. But you know, he doesn't seem to be afraid of pushing the car down underneath another driver if he's going to leave the opportunity. And we can see now as they come down the back straight over towards the back straight chicane, Schooler once again closing things up on Thor Tulo, and this is the battle for second. They've got Charles Vaccaro right behind them, sitting in 4th position, just off the podium currently. And here we go as they come now out of the back straight, and you can see where Schooler gets on the brakes a little bit earlier than Tulo. And so Tulo opens up a little bit more ground through here, but seems to get very loose on exit coming through turn 1 and through the cambered turn 2. And again, as you can see here, turns 3 and 4 really just much like a double apex corner. You could actually, with these cars, based on the speed you're carrying, Wehan, almost turn it into just one large arc.
And an arc that's probably off camber, in fact.
Yes.
As just mentioned, you know, it does feel kind of difficult to kind of get the car, you know, firm through the corners. But of course, with the downforce that these Pro Mazdas have, I think it's not that much of a challenge for them to keep it on all 4s. So we do have a look at Guarda, who is in 5th. So yeah, I think he is finding himself trying to close this gap with Charles Vaccaro, which is kind of the gap is quite sizable at this point.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of ground to Vaccaro as Guarda sits just about 7 seconds back from that battle, that 3-car battle for 3rd, or probably the 3-car battle for 2nd. As we have now just a bit under 5 minutes, actually just about 4 minutes remaining in this 20-minute race. And as this battle continues on, I want to thank our sponsor, RaceVoice, that is bringing you both our Pro Mazda as well as Spec Racer Ford races here on the Ray eSports Racing League. RaceVoice, great products to provide you in-ear audible feedback about the data that your real race car collects from both AIM and also Motec data systems. They also have a product for the virtual racer as well to help improve your game. Check them out at racevoice.com. As we get back here, that battle right now for the battle for 2nd with Schooler and Tulo here on track as we follow Giancarlo Schooler in that gray Petronas Mazda, not quite Mercedes, AMG Mercedes there, but Carlos Schooler driving the number 2 car, and he's still a couple car lengths off of the back of Thor Tulo as those drivers are starting to close up on some slower traffic coming down into the chicane. This might affect their race somewhat here.
So is this going to be Schooler going for the move along the inside of Thor Tulo? I think it's made that move work. and that would appear to be
No, well,
sorry,
they've got the number 4 car. That is Vogel just ahead of them. Vogel currently running in 6th position. So you can see where our top 4 cars, Campbell, Schooler, Tulo, have really made their way around. Now here is the big surprise, and we haven't mentioned this, and not exactly sure when and where it happened, but Tyler Campbell. Remember, he had that incident on the start of the race. He had the spin coming out of turn number 4. He is our new leader, and I believe this actually happened probably around 4 laps ago. Jamison Huffman now sitting down, showing as in 12th position, and he is already checked out of the session, so his race is done. Tyler Campbell right now, bent up race car and all, here with just under 2 minutes remaining, is on track to take his 3rd win of the season here in the Ray Esports Racing League.
So of course Campbell had sorry,
yeah. No, go ahead, Leon, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that Campbell had quite a bad start just now, but he is leading the race, which is great for him. But right now the battle, where the battle's at, is pretty much from P2 and down. So this is still a battle for 2nd place, but battle still ensues at this point. But of course the gap does kind of, quite a sizable gap exists between Schooler and Tulo. So I think Tulo will have to push a bit harder over the next couple of laps in order to kind of plot for another overtaking move.
Yeah, and so, well, and as we went away and as we were watching our new leader, Giancarlo Schooler did manage to get around Thor Tulo in the number 14, the Red Bull car, so moved Tulo back into 3rd. Giancarlo Schooler now running up in 2nd position. And as Schooler had been closing things down, now again, those 2 drivers had come up on some slower traffic, and we mentioned that they have the only drivers on the lead lap currently are our top 5, Campbell, Schooler, Tulo, Vaccaro, and Guarda, and they'd already lapped up through and past John Vogel in that number 4 machine last lap, as it appears that the white flag is in the air. We are on our very last lap, only about 15 seconds here of the 20-minute race remain, as our leader Tyler Campbell now is coming out of turn 7 onto the oval. But let's stay with this battle for 2nd right now with Giancarlo Schooler and Thor Tulo, as they now come through turn number 5 and up the hill through turn 6, and then rolling back down around onto the oval, as this is going to be the last chance here for Thor Tulo to retake 2nd position, get that 2nd step on the podium. He's going to try to make, it looks like he goes high. Is he going to try to jump underneath Giancarlo Schooler going down into the chicane? Schooler definitely has the position here, as Tyler Campbell now coming through the final chicane and onto the front straight across the line. Tyler Campbell with his 3rd win of the season here in the Ray Esports Racing League. Let's jump back to the battle for 2nd, as we got Giancarlo Schooler and Thor Tulo coming into the final chicane now. Tulo just about a car length and a half back. Is he going to be close enough to make the pass? No, he is not. Giancarlo Schooler finishes in 2nd tonight. Thor Tulo in the number 14 machine will finish in 3rd, and crossing the line, Charles Vaccaro. And then finally coming, well, not finally, but coming out of the final chicane here, the 43 of Antonio Guarda. He's going to be our last driver on the lead lap. He crosses the start-finish line, and he will finish in 5th position, making up, I believe, 4 positions. But I'll tell you, Weihan, the hard charger of the race, Thor Tulo, started in 14th position on the grid and finishes on the last step of the podium, finishes in 3rd. Great run for Thor.
Oh, certainly great position, and more so for Campbell. In fact, he climbed 6 positions, and you've got quite a lot of drivers who have climbed many positions. So, before we do, as we do go through the results, I think we do have some drivers in our interview room, but these are the results. So, Tyler Campbell, your race winner, he began from 6th position. He took the race win here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we've got Giancarlo Schooler, who finishes 2nd, exactly where he began from. Of course, Schuler and Tulo had quite a great battle going towards the end, so Tulo comes home in third. We've also got the other drivers, Charles Vaccaro and Antonio Guarda, fourth and fifth. John Vogel comes home in sixth, unfortunately 2 positions down from where he began from. We've got the other drivers, Wayne Buttermore, as well as Andrew Rosencroft, John Casey, Joaquin Effinger, Andrew Bernach, who I think unfortunately had some incidents that we saw up front. We've also got Jet.
It was a tough evening for him in both races, unfortunately.
That's quite unfortunate for him indeed. And Jamison Huffman Carvalhejos, Morgan Burkhardt, who was in fact up front, but unfortunately he found himself tangled somewhere, or rather during the start of the race, and he's all the way down to 14th, unfortunately. We've also got Robert Cusera and Brian McCrea, who round out your race participants.
All right, so with that, we do have our podium finishers. They are here waiting in the green room. Let's go, and we'll bring in our third place finisher, Thor Tulo. Thor Tulo, how are you doing this evening? And Thor is muted. There we go. There's Thor. Thor, congratulations on your third place finish. Made up 11 positions tonight. Why don't you give us a little rundown of your race?
Well, I don't really even know what to tell you. When I noticed I was in the podium positions, it really feels great, but it seems like everyone was really having some troubles with the with how or like the track conditions, and there was a lot of spins, and I managed to profit from that. Felt great.
Yeah, it was a great run, and sometimes being consistent and being able to take advantage of others' misfortune, it's always a part of racing. Now you spent the last number of laps battling it out with Giancarlo Sculler for the second step on the podium. What was your strategy? What were you trying to do with the car in order to hold Giancarlo off?
Well, I haven't really ran too many laps on the Pro on Charlotte board, so I was just keen on just staying in front and just trying to keep the gap as big as possible. But there was a little bit of a mix-up with altercation in the with the lap cars, so yeah, I lost a bit of ground. But yeah, it was a great battle with Giancarlo.
There you go. All right, that is Thor Tulo, finished third tonight. Thor, anybody you'd like to thank this evening?
I'd like to thank my sponsors, Ridge Wallet, and my dad. And yeah, that's just probably about it.
Well, there you go. Ridge Motorsports driver Thor Tulo, driver the number 14 Pro Mazda, finishing third this evening. Thanks for joining us, Thor.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, let's jump over now. And Weihan, I'm going to hand you off to Giancarlo Sculler, finishing second tonight in Pro Mazda.
Awesome. Hi, Giancarlo. Welcome to the commentary booth. Congratulations on finishing second. We did see some great battles taking place between yourself and Thor Tulo. So, could you perhaps share with us more about the battles that took place, and also maybe other significant events throughout the race?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it was more of a battle of attrition. The track was really greasy, really slippery, and everyone was spinning off left and right. I had to avoid quite a few crashes. As far as my battle with Thor goes, he was sitting in P2 for most of the race, and I was sitting right behind him. And I really thought I was just going to stay behind him and bag up P3, and I was going to be happy with that. And then we ended up going 3 wide, and I think I made a move on him, which ended up working out, and I held the position from there.
That's great to hear. So, I guess coming straight from the MX-5s, we have a sudden change in fact, driving styles for the car in some ways. And was that a challenge, for you to adapt from one car to another within such a short span of time?
Yeah, being thrown in right to qualifying from the end of the Pro Mazda race, I think the biggest thing was the curbs. In the Miata, you can really abuse the curbs and take as much as you like. Pro Mazda is completely different. You have to avoid them almost, and they can really send you flying into a wall.
Yeah, it would appear so. Yeah, before we do let you go, in fact, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my mom and dad. Yeah, thanks to them, because I wouldn't be here without them.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Giancarlo. Come finish second in the not Star Master, Pro Master round here.
Formerly Star Mazda.
Yeah, formerly Star Master. So I think we do probably also have Tyler
Yeah.
Campbell, race winner with you, Greg.
Yeah, that's right. We've got Tyler Campbell taking his third win of the season here in the eSports Racing League, driver of the number 37 Draught Racing Machine. Tyler, first off, congratulations.
I appreciate it, guys. I will say off the bat, if there's one I could do over, it'd be this one, even knowing I wouldn't win it.
I was going to say we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to dig into here. First off, why don't we talk about the start here? Obviously you were kind of put in a bad position there with what was going on the front row, but why don't you tell us how that played out for you?
Yeah. So I noticed Jameson got a great jump, obviously with the start here. It's super awkward, and so he was able to get on the inside, but and I just watched the replay and saw that he got loose, and that caused Morgan to back out and just smacked right in him because I could not see. He was right on the other side of him, so I didn't even know to check up on that one.
Yeah, it just looked like you didn't really have anywhere to go coming out of the chicane, and they both appeared to be a little bit loose, giving a little wiggle there, and obviously, at least to us, you definitely had some front wing damage. After that, I'm sure it didn't make for an optimally handling car there, but why don't you tell us a little bit as you were, I guess, trying to make up ground on Jamison Huffman. I know it could not have been an easy race for you. I think Giancarlo mentioned the track was kind of greasy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you managed the race?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because this track, it's either great or it's not, and it's the only track I've been to so far that the fuel load like has a dramatic effect on the handling, and so I carried an extra gallon of fuel just in case, and so the understeer was not ideal. So there was no, I mean, you can see by the lap times, there's no way I was going to be able to push that and keep a hold of it. I was really scared to just in braking zones because I had no idea what damage I had, what I could even do with the car at that point. I would honestly, after that, I was like, it drives straight. Like I have kissed the wall here and it's driven sideways basically. And so, I think I was super fortunate there. And I saw the laps Jameson was doing. I was like, all right, well, all or nothing. Like, let's see what laps I can run. And then, I saw unfortunately he got taken out by a back marker just from an unfortunate spin, and then speared into the side of me. And again, I have no idea what my car is made out of, but I don't think it's carbon fiber.
That's like the spec racer Fords in iRacing that we know aren't made of fiberglass.
Yeah.
But you managed to hold on and take the win. Congratulations to you, Tyler. So are we going to see you next week at Lime Rock?
Yeah, I should be there. All goes well at home. I'll just say a PSA. If you think you might have mold, get it checked out because it's not fun. But yes,
Ooh.
I should be at Lime Rock next week, and I'm hoping that goes much better. I love racing with these guys. My heart really goes out to them. Like that was not a fun race to win. It really should have been a much better race for everybody. So, hopefully next week we can really get it together and get a really close, tight race like we had at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, that would be great. And the one at Road Atlanta was pretty epic. So, Tyler, anybody you'd like to thank this evening? Besides your water mitigation guys?
Yeah, exactly. As always, my wife, she's always there, always supporting me. And my dad as well. I haven't thanked him yet. Thinking about waiting until the end, but I'll take a win to thank him. He's always supported me race go-karts since I was 9 years old. Got out of that, but he always supports me whenever I want to go out and race again. So I got to give him a shout out.
Very cool. All right, so everybody, that was Tyler Campbell, really cementing his lead in the Pro Mazda points battle right now here on the Ray Esports Racing League. We'll see him again next week at Lime Rock Park. Thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations once again, Tyler.
All right, thanks, guys. As always, awesome to have y'all broadcast and appreciate it.
Thanks so much. All right, everybody. So that wraps things up here for the Ray Esports Racing League. First off, I want to thank Wee Han for joining this evening, and we should have should have Avery McDonald back soon enough. But Wei Han, thanks so much for sitting in tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. In fact, I think it was a really exciting night of racing. We've seen so many. Both are Mazdas apparently. Now I just realized one Mazda in a tin top form and one Mazda in an open wheel form. I think the racing was fantastic, and especially more so on a track like this. I think it was just a really great night of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. We had 2 great races. Both of them, they played out very differently. As we talked to the Pro Mazda drivers, had the battle. Some of them had the battle damage. A lot of them had the battle track conditions quite a bit. And then, of course, in the Mazda MX-5s, we saw how those drivers handled adversity as well. It was a great night of racing here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And if you like what you saw, again, want to remind everybody, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up on the broadcast here and go and subscribe to Apex Racing TV. They've got some great programming, and go and click that notification bell to find out anytime we have a race on that you can watch. You can also find out more about the Apex Racing TV schedule by going to apexracingtv.com/schedule. And you can also find us on social media, all the major players, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search Apex Racing TV. So, again, next week, 9 p.m. Tuesday night, that's 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be at Lime Rock Park, and things are starting to wind down here. Only 3 more weeks of the Ray Esports Racing League before the runoffs at Road America, so you definitely don't want to miss it. RaceVoice, our great sponsors, RaceVoice and Driver61. Thanks so much again for them. And again, want to thank Chen Wei Han as well as Dennis Branch for all of their help this evening, and we will see you next week.